You are listening to Offensive Lines with Marlon and Boyd. Small stakes NFL gambling for the average fan.
Welcome to Offensive Lines. I'm Marlon.
I'm Boyd.
And here we are for episode 11 of the off-season. Oh, I can't wait till the off-season ends.
Titans training camp starts next week.
Yeah, and the Chargers are the only team that hasn't signed their first-round draft pick previous to training camp. Can the threat of offset money really be that important?
I guess in the salary cap era it is, but like you've only got him for 3 years anyway. What the fuck's the difference?
Well,
like
4 or
what's the
5
difference
or whatever. I think like you can put in a 5th-year option, right? But if your presumption is that your scouting department is so terrible that he will be cut and signed elsewhere within 4 years, like what sort of faith are you showing in your own fucking organization?
Yeah, but so what's the difference in money here? What, like, how much are they hung up on?
It's not actual money, right? That's more or less slotted. What it is
well, no, but it must cost them money if they cut him.
What the difference is if they cut him, then and he signs with another team, that money is deducted from what the Chargers owe them. If it's not offset at all, then he could double dip theoretically.
Oh, who gives a fuck? He drafted him 3rd overall.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
you think you're going to be cutting him in 2 years?
That's my point exactly. I don't understand it, and when you've already, through your grotesque mishandling of the Weddle situation, looked like a bunch of penny-pinching ass wipes, do you really, is this the place to draw a line in the sand?
No, because, and here's the other stupid part that you mention it, is if they want to cut him after 2 or 3 years, somebody would trade for him. You wouldn't get, like, a first-round pick back if he's that bad that you were thinking of cutting him or trade. Somebody would give him a shot and give you a 5th, 6th, or 7th round pick. Just take him off your books.
Yeah.
Just take a flyer on him. Fuck.
But when you have the number 3 overall pick and you're worried about what will happen if potentially we want to cut him within 4 years, like that's just a diseased mindset.
And that'll lead us into what we're going to talk about, because from all, and I know these shows are skewed to make them look the most favorable light, but the all or nothing Arizona Cardinals, which is going to be the topic of our podcast tonight, the Cardinals look like a great place to play.
Absolutely.
From the head coach on down. I don't know what your take on it was.
No, I agree completely. And, as you said, I mean, this isn't North Dallas 40. This is a very slanted thing. It's showing the NFL in the best possible light. But what a great light. Like,
well, when you compare it to the Miami Dolphins when they were on it, and the difference.
Well, that's
in
Hard
demeanor
Knocks.
of
It's a
but
different
it's the same thing.
But yeah,
no, but it's all in conjunction with NFL Films.
Yes.
So it was very similar in the way they shot it, the stories they told about the players. There wasn't a whole lot of focus on training camp, really. They didn't get into the stories about the young guys trying to make the team or anything like that, like they do in Hard Knocks. But the way it was shot and how they showed like the meetings and stuff, like Philbin looks like even more of an idiot after you watch Arizona. Like, if there's a better head coach in the NFL than Bruce Arians, I'd like to meet him.
Well, you said with the Hard Knocks Jets that you could understand right then why players loved to play for Ryan.
Yeah.
And that is correct. Arians seems to have that relationship with the players that Ryan has, except that he's also an excellent coach, both sides of the ball.
And he's not, it's a totally different coaching style. There's no yelling or screaming in the meeting room, and there may be that they've cut out, I'm sure. But his message, his tone of voice is the same. Expletives thrown in throughout, sprinkled throughout all his conversations. But it's never, he's treating them like men.
Oh, exactly. And that applies to all the players, from Carson Palmer to Fitz down to Tyrann Mathieu. He blew me away. Like, why Pittsburgh? My original theory when Pittsburgh ran him out of town and made him retire was that what's his name? The coach was threatened by him, the head coach, Tomlin.
That's exactly why. You're dead on.
And
you're dead on. I don't know. Now, I know you can't take Pagano's job away from him in Indy because he had cancer.
Why not?
And Arians, well, because then you look heartless and gutless.
And it would be interesting because of the friendship between Pagano and Arians.
Arians would have never taken the job.
Yes. Because actually, another thing that comes across is he's principled. Like, he understands the business nature, but there was one conversation after Chris Johnson got the knee contusion, and he was speaking to the GM, and they were talking about, well, let's put him on the temporary IR, which is a valuable slot. And Arians was just saying, I think he's earned that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so much about what he did blew me away.
They could have just put Johnson on the IR and finished the season. But he would have been available for the Super Bowl had they made it.
Yeah, or they could have just cut him.
Well, you can't when he's injured. You can't when they're injured, unless you settle.
Yeah, IR to be cut, no recovery, yeah. But in any case, just that quiet little statement, I think he's earned that. That did not come across as false. But let's just go back a little bit here. For anyone who hasn't seen this, get your hands on it if you're a football fan. It's a little bit rosy. It's a little bit about trying to present all of this in a positive light. But if you like football, that really shouldn't matter to you. You can fill in the gaps of evil yourself.
Yeah, the behind-the-scenes stuff to me on these shows is what makes it interesting.
And this is so much better than Hard Knocks because it's the full season. After the first 2 episodes, I'd say, the cameras were so natural that you stopped seeing that. Didn't stop seeing, but it was very limited where people were trying to perform or changing who they were in front of the cameras.
Yeah.
It's like a reality show, like a Survivor or something, where you can say, oh, I'm going to pretend to be this, but the time grinds you down. You end up kind of revealing who you are after a period of time. You just can't maintain a facade that long.
No, and I'll say the only thing that took me out of the first couple of episodes, and the one thing I didn't care for pretty much throughout, and that may be because I'm so used to Liv Schreiber on the HBO, Jon Hamm. I didn't like him at all narrating that.
I thought he grew into it.
I just couldn't get used to his voice. I don't know if it was just because of so many years of Hard Knocks. and that you're watching basically Hard Knocks for the full season, and it's somebody else narrating it, he drove me bananas. I got used to it by about halfway through, but the first couple of episodes, I was just like, fuck.
I got over it like halfway through the first episode. And this happens to good old Ray Donovan there too in Live, but the only time it grated on me was some of the corny ass writing that they put in front of the narrator.
Oh yes, but that's always
that
the
happens
case.
to both of them, right? But yeah, I thought about that maybe only for half of one episode, and then I was adjusted to Ham. I thought his job was good. I wouldn't say it was a negative.
Well, he wasn't
really.
horrible, but it was the one negative I found in the whole thing was him. Like, he didn't do a bad job or anything. This is just my own personal... Like, I listen to rappers based on their voice.
Yeah, I suppose.
It doesn't matter about beats, lyrics. Lyrics are a little more important than other stuff, but it's the voice. Like, that's... I've never thought that Biggie Smalls wasn't any good. I just didn't like his tone.
And we've had this Tupac Biggie discussion before.
And I'm not saying
on the
one's
Biggie
better.
Smalls side.
Yeah, but I'm not saying one's better than the other. Just to my ear, I like Tupac's voice better than Biggie's.
Yeah, I like the
was
mush
never,
mouth and the way those syllables sort of crumble together from Biggie. But
yeah, and I get why people like him. It just wasn't for me, and that's what I'm saying about him. It's nothing he did wrong. It's just one of those things where it just didn't hit me. I just found it a little annoying, his voice.
But, okay, so, anyway, yeah, so this is like Hard Knocks for the full season, so, I mean, it feels more real. It even feels more real than the brilliant NFL Films productions, because it's so recent.
Well,
I
no,
mean, Shelley and I were looking up who we bet on in each of these games as they were replayed.
But you never wanted to bet Arizona, you cocksucker.
We bet them a bunch in the middle, and they screwed us a couple of times. That's why I backed off. You wanted to bet them against Seattle in the season finale, and that wouldn't have turned out. So you're at a +2, I think, on your Arizona advice, so to speak, that I ignored.
Yeah. But we had many. That was probably the team we argued about the most.
Yeah,
I would say last year. That in Houston. Well,
and even looking back at this retrospective of the season, I can sort of see why. Because there were games they had no excuse losing. Pittsburgh without Roethlisberger?
No, I get it.
You know.
No, I know why, and the way they looked in Cleveland in the first half, and I get it. I know why we had the arguments, but what did they finish against the spread last year? I don't even know.
I don't know. We can look at that, but yeah, this show's tremendous. And what you said about the organization, the Bidwell family did not have a good reputation as owners, by the way, for most of the existence or most of their ownership of the team.
No.
But this Michael Bidwell, who I think should be played by Patton Oswalt in any fictional movie made about the Cardinals.
Well, his storyline may have been to pump up the Bidwell name.
But he wasn't terrible. I mean, he was a prosecutor before he became team president. And I actually admire that. A stinking rich kid whose family owns a football team actually made a career for himself outside of football before coming back to run the football team.
Right. Well, we can go into how it's a tad easier to go to law school.
Oh, yeah, no, all of that. But the fact that he actually did something on his own. And, yeah, definitely he was, of Arians, the GM, and the owner, his seemed sort of the least believable. Like, when they showed him, it seemed more constructed than any of the rest.
Yes. And
even down to the playoff game where he was wearing the wrist brace. I'm going, so where did he get that? Did he punch a wall or a hooker? Like, what happened?
what are you referring to?
In the final 2 games, he's got a brace on his wrist.
Oh, yeah,
and hand,
yeah. Oh, you said bracelet, and I'm like, what?
Oh, did I? Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I meant
That's
I
where I
just
was
meant brace.
confused. Like, I was thinking you were saying you had like a monitoring bracelet on or something.
Well, no, that's Ursay.
Yeah. No, like, okay, and here was the most contrived, and I'm glad you brought up Bidwell and contrived, because the most contrived part of it was him with the dog. They had no business being in there. They had no bearing on anything.
Yes. Yeah, that was to humanize the billionaire.
Yes. And
but I did like the dog, and I was sad.
Well, me too, but that's why it was put in.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So I applaud what he does for rescued animals and all that stuff. But in a football documentary, they never got personal with anybody else, really, outside of David Johnson and his wedding. Like, that personal. You know what I mean?
Like and Arians and his wife, which is a pretty cool relationship as well.
That was the greatest plot line in the whole thing. When you
mean a structured plot line?
Well, no, but just their relationship. You can't fake it.
Okay. I thought we were still on Bidwell here. Okay.
No, but you can't fake Arians and his wife.
No.
That's a fantastic relationship. And his philosophy on coaching is groundbreaking. It should be required viewing for every head coach in the NFL. Get your work done, go home and spend time with your family.
Oh, yeah, when he's talking early about, they talk about coaches sleeping. Well, what are you doing? Like he just seems genuinely shocked that people would have to spend 22 hours a day doing this job.
Well, when they went to the D coordinator's house, and he goes, yeah. I'm home to put the kids in bed.
Yeah. And once everyone's asleep, I'll go to my office and maybe I'll look at some game film.
Yeah.
But Coach Ari, or BA, as everyone calls him, BA says, go home.
Yeah, like what are you going to glean if you're any good at your job? What are you going to glean when everybody else in the complex the players are all at home fucking watching TV or playing video games or out at the club? What in the fuck are you going to glean from pouring over tape for another 6 hours sitting in your office by yourself?
Oh, yeah, and I don't have a problem like the week leading up to the draft or something if everyone's pulling ridiculously long days when you're trying to go through all this data. But that should be... Those are peak periods, right?
I get, back in the day when you didn't have these humongous coachings, like they had pass rush specialists and fucking all these.
Yeah,
coaches.
I lost track of all their names. At about episode 4, I thought, I should have been taking notes from minute 1 because a lot of these assistants I really liked.
Yeah.
But I can't remember half their fucking names.
But these D coordinators and that, they're not, back in the day, they'd be the ones putting together the tape.
Oh, yeah, actually physically splicing film in the early days and then going to the videotape. And
now they go, okay. Yeah, now they go, okay, give me every play of a certain pass rusher for the season.
Yeah.
And somebody will put it together for them. It's all cataloged, cross-referenced. They just pull it together now. With computers, you don't need to spend 2 days watching fucking tape. Like Carson Palmer's getting fucking physio done on his dislocated finger, and he's watching his iPad watching film.
Yeah, and he says until he had this, where he could be kind of working at the same time, he would chat at the physiotherapist, and they'd get pissy with each other. Now he's got a distraction. It all goes much better.
Well, so okay.
What were a few of your favorite moments from the series?
Well, I think my favorite one was in episode 7 when they finished the regular season, or no, episode 6. Yeah, episode 7 was the first playoff game. Episode 6, right at the end, where he comes home, and I think it's after they lost to Seattle, and she's putting together like a meat and cheese tray.
Yeah, and it was Black Monday, and all his friends
Black
were
Monday.
getting canned.
Yeah, and he's like, I could sure use a drink. So he makes them both a drink, which I loved.
And by the way, like, he's opening champagne, which I thought, well, that's strange for an after-work drink. But then he gives her some kind of champagne and fruit, and I don't know what the hell all was in the drink he made for his wife.
Well, it looked like champagne, cranberry juice, and something else.
Well, there was actual fruit in there. It was almost like a champagne sangria in the original sense, right?
Yeah. And
then he had what looked like
Scotch.
3 fingers of bourbon on ice.
Yeah, it's bourbon or scotch.
Yeah, whiskey.
So my favorite part, that was my favorite, like showing them interacting and him going, here's to 3-0. 3-0 could change our lives forever. But that they're in it together?
Yeah.
Like, when you see the association the NFL and women have, it's not always great.
No.
Coaches are divorced. The fucking players are cheating on wives and girlfriends. It's bad.
Well, because they're working 20-hour days and they're abandoning their partner. Which, as you said, of his philosophy, is not his philosophy.
But that was my number one favorite moment.
Okay.
In the thing. And then along those lines, and I guess it's more his character I liked about the show. Not that he was playing one, but his actual character of him as a man.
Okay.
When he's on the field before their first playoff game at home against the Packers, he finds her sitting in the box, waves at her, and blows her a kiss.
I missed that entirely.
Most men in the NFL don't have the fucking strength of character that doesn't make them look weak. Like, he blew her like 2 or 3 kisses and waved at her in the box, where most men are too macho to even show that side.
Yeah, and I missed that scene. I'm actually going to go take a look for that.
It was fucking awesome. Like, those 2 moments, I kind of got choked up. Because I was like, fuck, that's a great relationship to have with your wife.
Yeah.
And they've been married for probably 35 years? I don't even know.
Well, they had those black and white photos when... I don't know if he was still a player in college when the first photos were taken, or whether he was already coaching. Like some sort of intern assistant. Well, before interns, but, unpaid assistants. And they were showing his crazy-ass pants and his long hair. I think it was it was definitely when they were playing, because he said, she's going, oh, look at that hair, because he had long hair. And he's going, yeah, I had that until I got tackled by it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, their relationship to me was the best part of the show.
Fair enough. I liked it. I liked her Georgia, as she calls it, their forever home, because she's been a road warrior, right, all her life, as you go through the jobs he went. And they've got this beautiful place in Georgia. And, yeah, when it's ready, I mean, it seems like she wants him to retire, but she doesn't. She knows he's still happy.
Well, and that he's good.
Yeah.
Like, I believe if he wouldn't have got a head coaching job, he would have retired. He wouldn't have hung around Indianapolis as a coordinator. They were done.
Not for long, but he jumped at the coordinator for Pagano really fast, as he said. He was saying, all right, I guess I am retired. And then Pagano called, and she even made the joke, yeah, that lasted 2 days. Like, I don't think it's out of him yet.
But it'd be a hard lifestyle to get out of.
Yeah.
Because
but
the
as
money's
you said,
good.
most of these coaches, let's face it, their relationship is rare in these sort of high-profile coaching gigs.
But the one, Pagano's offensive coordinator, went with him to Indy to work underneath him.
Yeah.
And Arians wouldn't fucking sign his contract till they signed this guy first.
Yeah, the offensive line coach. Yeah.
Yeah, they signed their contracts at the same time. Again, speaking to his character. And I can't get over his demeanor with the team and the relationship he has with players. Like, just not coach to player, but man to man.
Oh yeah, from the anger, like him on the sidelines was side-splittingly funny. Like, they would show a cut, Carson would throw a pick, and he'd look to an assist and he'd go, what the fuck was that? What the fuck was he even looking at? And then Palmer would come and he's going, what the fuck are you doing? And Carson would give an explanation. Well, that's fucking bullshit. We said only look down the fucking middle if he's fucking wide open. What the fuck? And then he'd smack him on the side of the helmet. But it was never like a Bob Knight moment, right?
No, and he'd always, or if the moment called for it, he would just pat him on the helmet and say, okay, forget about it. Let's go on to the next one. Like when Peterson fumbled the punt in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah. Oh.
But the way he handled it, a lot of the times it was more a pat on the ass than what the fuck are you doing?
Oh, yeah, except with the quarterback, because that's why quarterbacks make all that money. They're supposed to be able to take that and learn, right?
Well, yeah, and Palmer's been around long enough. He knows there's nothing personal in it.
And there's a difference between an intellectual error and just fucking up.
Yeah.
Which he understands as well. Like, some of my favorite parts of the show were more football-oriented. I thought the DB coach drilling them on how to defend the back shoulder pass was absolutely fantastic in the first game against Green Bay.
Well, and
that was fucking coaching. That's why you have a position coach to just go, no, do not ever even look at the back shoulder. Always play the front shoulder, so when you have to come back, you're already in a position to step in front on the back shoulder. And it seems so goddamn simple, and he ran them through it. Like, they showed probably 6 reps, and you know it was probably a 40-rep drill, right?
Well, yeah, each guy's going to get so many reps, right?
Yeah. I love that. That was
and
something you never see. That sort of, what does a coach do in terms of a position coach?
And to that point, the preparation of showing Hail Mary, like how to play Hail Marys.
Yeah, but then they
fucked it up. No, right. I know.
It was exactly what they showed in the film room.
Yes. And the other point in that was when Arians showed the fucking how you can lose a game in the last 10, 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Showed those 4 clips and said, this is okay, we've got to be aware of this shit. Like when Suggs took down, what the fuck's his name from Jacksonville? When he took him down and cost him the game. When they kicked that field goal, when the face mask taken down. And they showed the Hail Mary Rodgers threw against Detroit. And they showed like 2 or 3 other plays that here's how you can lose a game by not playing the full 60 minutes.
Yeah.
And thinking of they coach everything in the NFL. I would like to see what you need in contrast is I want to see Cleveland's fucking a season with the Cleveland Browns.
Okay, let's get to that at the end of the podcast. I want to talk about that. I think you're on to something. But I do want to say, like, something else I really liked, and it showed the difference, to my mind, of a team. I'm a huge fan of Calais Campbell. I think he's a fucking god, right? Doesn't get a lot of statistical numbers that anyone sees. But he absorbs 2 or 3 guys there on the line. Dwight Freeney played in San Diego the previous year. He wasn't bad until he got hurt. The difference between what he did in Arizona and San Diego was San Diego had no one to absorb those blockers inside.
Well, you never got one-on-one.
Exactly. And so once he got 1-on-1, and I still say Freeney only has the outside and the spin, but his little tutorial on how he sets up the inside spin with the speed move outside and plays a full game, it was like a baseball pitcher talking about how he sets up a hitter.
Yeah.
It was fucking
that was
awesome.
cool.
That was one of my favorite parts, too. And I was so able to relate it to Freeney being all right in San Diego, again, until he got hurt. But the absence of a player like, well, there aren't many players like Calais Campbell, but the absence of a defensive lineman who can allow those one-on-ones in the outside, doesn't matter who you are. If the rest of the team sucks, you are not going to produce. I thought that was just fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for hating a guy because he played in Indy for so long and just being frustrated at how many times he'd blow up plays against the Titans, I hate that I liked him on the show. You know what I mean? You
My
hate
base opinion that he still only has that speed outside and the spin.
Yeah, but
right?
in his prime,
he doesn't have a swim. He doesn't have a power. Never did.
No, he had a bull. No, he had a bull rush.
Yeah, well, I guess you probably watched him a lot more than I did.
He did. He had the bull rush back in the day. Not anymore, but he did.
Okay.
But he blew up so many games for the Titans. It was...
His little seminar was fantastic. And again, that was one of the things that I just thought, this is the kind of shit you never see.
Well, yes.
An intellectual player talking intellectually about playing a brutally violent sport. It's gorgeous.
Well, what did you think of Buckner, the D-line coach, bringing up the tape when he played? And showing, oh yeah, wasn't a bad day. Only 2.5 sacks, a couple of forced fumbles, and 7 tackles.
Yeah, and an interception.
Yeah, it was. That was great. They still always gonna promote themselves. Here, okay, you don't believe me when I'm telling you? Here's what I did when I played.
And the sort of dismissive way the players dealt with that was funny. Which sort of, undercuts the notion that, only guys who have been great before can coach us. No, I think if people give good information, they're going to follow you.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're just a guy going 33% of the time, they will move to this inside. That's just not going to wash, right?
No.
But you don't have to have been an all-time great to be a coach. Most of the best position coaches in that were mediocre players, right?
Yeah.
Like, they know the techniques and they know what it feels like, but it doesn't matter if you were great or Hall of Fame.
The difference in the culture, though, between, say, the Jets and Atlanta and Miami, it's fucking shocking when you see how they run that organization from top to bottom. And I've never been a fan of the owner / president on the field or the GM or anything.
No.
But those three actually seem to like each other. And I think that's more to Arian's credit and the culture he brings to a team than anything. I think he's the glue that runs that whole fucking ship.
I would actually say it's as much that GM who, came up with the organization through the scouting department. And, we've discussed this a million times. You need a lot of luck, too. But he certainly isn't a terrible GM. In fact,
no.
He looked definitely like an excellent one. But he's the guy who's likely to be there after Arians retires.
Oh, for sure. But I'm saying,
I think he's kind of the glue. And you saw how angry
on the relationship
he got in that
wise.
Carolina ass whipping.
But I'm talking just relationship wise.
Yeah.
Because most coaches are resentful of having the owner and the fucking management on the field.
Yeah.
So
I still am not a big fan of it.
No, but I thought it worked for them, and I'm thinking that's because of Arians not being resentful of it. Not having such a big ego.
I'd be curious, what was the position of that GM in the Kurt Warner Super Bowl year? I'd be curious as to where he was in the organization.
That I'm not sure.
But also in general, just on principle, I like the notion that this guy worked for the organization for 30 years and was given a chance to reach the top and thrived.
Yeah. Well, the one thing
it's knee-jerk organizations that just want to fire people without success, right? This organization seems fucking rock solid to me.
No, but okay. Well, let's put that in context with the Titans and Whisenhunt. How long is too long? When you see no improvement. I understand what you're saying about the knee-jerk reaction.
Yes.
But when you've won 2 games or 3 games in 2 years or a year and a half, isn't that a long enough time?
That's
do you
coach,
give him 5
which
years?
I think is...
do you give him 5 years when it's this bad and he's brought in all the guys he wants and the coaches and the system he wants to run on defense and nothing is changing in year 2?
Yeah. I think that's still too quick.
But
I think the organization from the GM is more important where the stability comes. Now, I'm saying that because the Chargers tried stability with the Lord of No Rings there. And, goddamn cancer taking out Butler as our GM. That was our guy because he'd proven he could build a long-term team with Buffalo. And then he got cancer and died.
No, but you guys got fucked over, and I don't think it was the GM's fault. He was dealing with the mandate from management about spending money, which fucked you guys more than anything. That was where the breakdown.
That theory is becoming more probable now in the Weddle wake.
So it happened back then. It happened, Marlon. It happened back then. Who was the receiver you guys didn't resign?
I know.
Yeah.
And I think that was the GM trying to do what Elway just did with Von Miller.
What do you mean? They gave him the second biggest contract in the history of the NFL and guaranteed money. What did Elway do?
Fought him every which way. Even Von Miller's agent just said, wow, that was a strange negotiation because you had to make sure Elway thought he won. And I think we had a bean counter who didn't have the cachet of Elway to finally make it come down.
No, but the Chargers walked away from receiver, not the other way around.
Oh, I know. One lost, one won. Elway won his fight.
Yeah, but he didn't.
No, but he was all that deal is not substantively different than the deal that was rejected earlier.
I know, but he got $70 million guaranteed.
Yeah, but it wasn't.
Elway didn't win,
and they were offering him 66 in the first go round.
But Elway didn't win. Elway to win would have had to get below 66.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when you're being cheap, you're not going to 70. Is what I'm saying. The Chargers let Vincent Jackson walk over probably a couple $1 million over the course of the contract.
It was a terrible, terrible deal.
The GM doesn't control putting his name on the bottom of the check. That comes from ownership when you get to that point. So if your hands are tied by ownership, how effective can you be as a GM? I'm leaning more to you had a good GM who got fucked over by ownership not wanting to spend the money.
Actually, that GM, after Butler died, I cannot find a single thing he did that was right. Except in one draft, they went Eric Weddle. He was a terrible GM.
Well, you got Keenan Allen?
No, he was gone by then.
Well, you must have drafted
that was under
somebody.
Talasco, our current GM.
You must have drafted somebody other than Weddle.
Have you seen my team recently? Not a lot of highly productive guys.
No, but was he not the GM? Was Smith not the GM when you had the team that was favored to go to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, but it was Butler who assembled that team, who died of cancer. And this guy was Butler's assistant.
Yes, but to get the Lord of No Rings, he had to make some moves. You guys were one of the top teams in the AFC for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, and that was virtually all under Butler's watch.
Well, come on. The rosters turn over 10 to 12 people per year. Minimum.
Yeah, Butler was there for about 3 years, and then he was in for about 5, and the team just rusted.
Well, no, he was... towards the end of that run, he had he hired Schottenheimer. Smith hired Schottenheimer, and they went 13-3 Schottenheimer's last year.
And then he fired Schottenheimer at the end of that season. Because Schottenheimer did not agree with his moves. Well, how many teams fire the coach from a 13-3 team? You think he had an ego problem, Boyd?
The logic behind it is okay, just because, and I'm not saying Schottenheimer wasn't a good coach.
Well, we saw his replacement, Boyd.
No, I know, but I'm saying that we've seen coaches fired for conflicts with GMs.
Not at 13-3, you don't.
Well, Dallas fired fucking Jimmy Johnson.
Wow. All right. And as I said, were there egos involved?
Well, yeah, but it happens. It happens, right? You just get sick of fighting.
Well, and we've had the Niners, and how did that work out?
Yeah, but I would have liked to have seen what the Niners had if the team stayed together and not had 6 retirements.
Actually, the Niners are the best example of exactly what you were saying. When the owner gets in there with the dollars and cents, it's fucked.
And I think that's part of that. I blame A.J. Smith for some of it, but ownership has to take its responsibility too in San Diego.
Well, okay. Let's just get back to the show then.
Yeah.
But I think we both agree that this incarnation of the Cardinals under the Bidwells looks like a long-term team. And I was just saying, I think that the really important factor is this GM. I mean, even just the way he pulled Chris Johnson. Yes, you need luck. Who knew that Chris Johnson was going to look that good in new lights? But it cost him almost nothing. It was a perfect gambler's play, right?
Yeah.
It cost him little. We might need him for depth. Oh, look. This guy's good. Dwight Freeney. Who
Corey
I'm
Redding.
a little shocked, by the way, is currently unsigned by the Cardinals.
Yeah. Was it Corey Redding that they got that used to play at Seattle that they called off as
No,
coach?
that was Red Bryant.
Red Bryant, yeah.
Yeah.
Even him.
Oh, yeah. You need a wide body. Like, he understands that this guy will never do a huge amount that will appear on any stat sheet, but a wide body to stuff the run? Oh, my goodness.
And who was... No, it was Redding was the one that Arians brought with him from Indy, correct?
I believe so, yes.
They played with him in Indy the year
and
before.
He tried to hurdle Stafford.
Yeah.
And then got the touchdown against Green Bay. And then that looked like a dirty play against Seattle.
Oh, yeah, when they rolled his ankle.
Yeah.
Yeah, they dove right at it.
Yeah. Okay, I was hoping you saw the same thing I did. I rewound about 3 times, and I'm going, that is nothing short of a dirty attempt to injure.
Well, how was... Dove right at his fucking ankle as he was engaged with other people.
Yeah,
Isn't
it was
that
the
supposed
top
to
of
be...
his helmet, too. Like,
Yeah.
fuck.
Isn't that what they're supposed to be calling?
Well, now it's technically illegal, like any kind of chop block. But yeah, I mean, I'm reminded, and I know you'll dispute it, I still think your Titans under Fisher did that to Merriman.
Oh, probably.
In that
At the
playoff
time,
game.
I disputed it.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, well, it was legal back then, so
Okay. Yeah, it wasn't dirty. Or it was dirty, but it was legal.
yeah.
All right.
So,
Yeah, I understand the subtlety there. I'll accept that.
I'm not saying it wasn't that Fisher's teams weren't dirty.
You did actually argue that it wasn't dirty at the time, but
Well, of course
those
I
are
would.
passionate days in the day after the game.
Well, of course I would say it wasn't dirty. But so was Baltimore when they fucking when they fucking near broke Chris Johnson's ankle in the playoff game because they couldn't stop him. We'd have mowed him over that year. Johnson's rookie year.
Yeah.
He had the Ravens hadn't given up a 100-yard rusher all season. He had 80 in the first quarter and a half. And then he got hit in a pile and somebody fucking held him up and the other guy jerked him back and his ankle's fucked. Oh, there you go. That was the ball game.
Yeah,
So-
it is part of the game, a horrible part of the game.
But back to Keim, the GM. We got to see my theory at work.
Which theory is this?
That Arizona wasn't going to draft David Johnson.
No. Yeah.
They were going to
you
draft a
get
different
lucky.
running
Yeah.
back. They were going to draft a different running back, and he got taken by Detroit.
Amul.
Yeah, Abdullah or whatever his
Yeah.
name is.
Yeah, Amir
They
Abdullah.
were going to draft him, and he went to Detroit. And then they went, oh, what about this David Johnson kid from Northern Iowa? And then they ended up taking him, and he was fucking fantastic.
Yeah, like your
Which is
theory
always
and
my
work
theory.
is true, but it's also those guys have really similar skill sets. And by the way, I'm not ready to write off Amir Abdullah. He had fumbling issues, but he's a good enough looking player. Like I think he's going to be fine.
Marlon,
But what they had was they had a board that they researched going, this guy.
I know, but my point has always been yes, they do the research and they pick these guys. But they don't fucking know.
Oh, no. And
it's an educated guess, but we give the GM, we'll stroke his dick for making that pick. But when we see how it works, it goes more times than not exactly to my theory. Throw a fucking dart out of the 6 guys you want, and you might get lucky.
Okay, what you've added to your theory here is of the 6 guys you want.
Well,
you
no,
know,
they all have
when
a
we
list
had
of
our
what they
biggest
want.
thing was, I just said, so you don't do any research, just throw darts, and you actually said
You'd have
yes.
as much
so
success.
You've added. No, you haven't, because what you're looking for is a complementary skill set, right? So they looked at guys who could catch the ball, were shifty, but, you know, we're in that 6 foot, 220-pound running back, right? Not a bruiser, but a solid guy with feet. So yeah, okay, we missed our guy. Next one up on the board.
My biggest part of it is that every team has essentially the same list. These guys aren't developing the fucking nuclear bomb.
This is true.
So when we give the GMs all this credit for making these draft picks, when every team has the same list, they may rank them in a different order, and it's pure luck whether they hit or not. You could have you could have the biggest scouting department in the world, and you would still miss more times than you hit.
Yes, it's not
So-
pure luck. There's luck involved.
It's 90% luck.
Well, I
don't
would agree with the 90% luck when everyone was using a scouting conglomerate to collect their data. Have you noticed that the teams that are starting to succeed maintain their own scouting departments?
But just look, we both think Bill Belichick's the smartest football mind in football.
Terrible drafter.
But they'll always go back to Brady.
Oh yeah,
6th round pick. Look what they got. It's
what it was, and this is kind of what I was saying about signing Chris Johnson. It was a good gambler's move.
no, I give him more
It
credit for
cost
those
you-
moves.
Yeah, but it cost you
drafts.
nothing. And who knows, maybe it'll work out. But yeah, I mean, he bought a lottery ticket.
Signing Freeney, signing Chris Johnson, getting Red Bryant off the couch. I saw more value in what they did of the players that were cut and bringing in those guys and having a list ready of players available at every position has more skill to it than
The draft.
because you're bringing them in than drafting.
Okay,
because
no,
you're bringing
we're
them
on
in,
the same page here.
You're using you can quantify what they've done because you have tape. You only needed Dwight Freeney as a pass rusher. You weren't expecting him to be a run stuffer. So you bring him in to fill a certain role. And it cost him $1.6 million. Brilliant.
Yeah. No, we're totally on the same page there, and that's actually laid out in episode 1, where he just says, where our team fell last year was we didn't have depth. We couldn't deal. And by the way, the only place they really didn't have depth was quarterback. And I still don't, by the way, necessarily think Carson Palmer is the answer. Here's my one gripe about the show. That absolute ass kicking that Carolina laid on them. They do not bring up the 6 turnovers by Carson Palmer.
No, they only showed his one pick in the end zone.
They showed 3 picks. They showed one
they showed the
fumble and 2
Kuechly.
picks.
Yeah, they showed the Kuechly one.
He was responsible for 6 turnovers in that game. If you watch just what they showed in that show, it looked like the only thing that was wrong was Patrick Peterson muffing that punt, which on our podcast we agreed was the turning point of the fucking game.
Yes, because they had momentum, and if he catches that ball, he might have scored.
Yeah. In our podcast at the time, we identified that. So I'm not arguing that was a huge play. But the fact that Palmer completely fucking collapsed in both that game and for the most part kind of pisses me off. This is where the NFL's heavy hand comes in.
Well, and they don't...
The quarterback can't be the problem when he's Carson Palmer, the quarterback.
Because wasn't there another pick? Didn't he throw another pick near the goal line? Because they had 2 3-and-outs in a row.
He threw 4.
But
so,
he had like 2 back-to-back drives where they got picked off in the end zone or near the end zone.
Yeah, he looked like Ryan Fitzpatrick.
At that whole time, like they showed Carolina kicked a field goal to make it 24-7. And then they go down and almost score. When he got picked off in the end zone. But he got picked off the drive before that set up the Carolina field goal.
Well, I believe so. Suddenly Carolina had the ball back, and they were skipping over how this happened. It seemed like a huge whitewash to me of Carson Palmer's culpability in that loss. And I don't care if Carson Palmer had been good. I don't think they win that game. They got drubbed. The defense did play terribly. But
they had no game plan after they got down, so they knew they were going to fucking throw the ball all the time, which kills your quarterback.
And the defense was over aggressive too. Like on that double reverse they ran that they showed, they were totally over pursuing. Like they were too amped up, which is the fault that you can exploit in almost any Ryan defense.
But I don't
think any of the brothers or the dad.
I don't think there was any team in the NFC was going into Carolina last year and winning in the playoffs.
Oh, no. And so I'm not saying, but nevertheless, 6 turnovers on Carson Palmer should at least be brought up. And the last thing they showed was, even though they have no chance to win, he'll go down swinging. And they show him taking this heroic sack. And I just thought, well, this fucking is bullshit.
No, because he was going to kneel down.
No, he said no, but whatever. That showed what a man Carson Palmer was to reject when Arian said, "Do you want to kneel it out?" And he got sacked.
Palmer said that. That was Palmer said that to Arians.
No, Arian said, "What do you want to do? Kneel it out?" And Carson Palmer says no.
See, I thought that was the other way around.
Oh no, it's definitely the way I describe it. So it ends up looking like he's this heroic captain of the ship trying to do it. That was, like, the last episode was the only episode that kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. Because it put a lot of blame on Patrick Peterson, and it put a lot of blame on the defense, both of whom were certainly partially culpable for this. But it really did not address Carson Palmer being, as he was in the playoff game with Green Bay, he was very much culpable for the difficulties they had in that game.
Yes. But when a team scores 3 straight drives to start the game, it's tough to come. When you're down 17.
But one of those was off a turnover, the fumble. Right? You give a team a short field.
Yeah.
But all I'm saying is, and this gets to you, like baby the quarterback. Somehow no one seems to want to talk about the fact that he committed 6 turnovers personally in that game.
No, but I still think he had a great year.
Yeah, but big game Carson.
Well, yeah, but the defense... Campbell did nothing. The Peterson fumble. Bethel Johnson was awful.
Oh, well, he's not particularly good anyway.
Some games they showed clips that Johnson, the Titan signed the safety, looked good. Other games, I don't know where we improved over Michael Griffin. I don't know. But the one, you said you got the cameras kind of went away during the filming, and it just like they kind of blended into the background, and you felt like you were watching real interaction, nobody thinking about the cameras.
Yes.
The only place I saw it later on in the series was that playoff game where Steve Keim was losing his fucking mind, and he stopped himself. I thought he stopped himself a couple of times.
Okay, I was going to say, I thought his reaction was genuine, but you're right. He did censor that. You are totally correct. Because he knew the camera was there. He was ready to fucking take out a table.
And fucking start screaming at players. Like, start naming names. And he did.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Until the end when he threw his glasses on that little bar shelf.
Yeah, he was somewhat leashed there. Yeah, I agree. But just when we get to the cameras, too, the other thing I loved about this was usually we'll see these NFL films angles and you don't remember watching the game. This gave angles from within a game that I can still remember watching. It was so fucking good.
Yeah.
Holy shit, like in the Green Bay game, the first one in the regular season, that ground level look from the back right side of Aaron Rodgers when Freeney puts the spin move on whatever poor bastard was out there and then takes him, that was worth everything right there. And there were so many of those. Like all through the game, Shelley was just going, holy shit, these angles are amazing. Because it gave you a perspective of the game you don't see. And because the game was of such recent history, you could remember seeing it in shitty television, Yeah.
No, I was remembering. Well, here's an interesting tidbit, just off topic. Why it might not be as good, the coverage anymore. I was listening to, how the Fox fired Siragusa or let him go?
Okay.
It was because of money. Fox is losing so much money on that FS1 bullshit they started that they're making cuts. So Siragusa was saying when he was first there, they were running 14, 15 cameras a game. Last year they were down to 10. Now they're down to 9 this year for certain games.
Yeah, but that was the broadcast. These are the NFL film cameras.
But I know. No, Marlon. I'm just making a point about like watching on shitty TV. The angles that we get on TV are going to be down because of the lack of cameras. And their only reason is because of money. And Siragusa pointed out, if you're a team in a smaller market where they don't send the full
Tennessee,
crew,
anyone? Yeah.
But when you go, I don't know what CBS is doing. This is Fox. If you're in a team with a smaller market that doesn't get a lot of national games, you're not going to have the replay angles of the national spotlight games where they have the 15 cameras. Like wherever Aikman and Buck are doing a game, they're going to have 15 cameras.
Oh yeah, well that's always been the way.
When you get
Monday night used to have 4 times as many cameras as the other.
Yeah, but there was no replay back then.
Well,
he's talking about
but you know what I mean.
No, but not to affect the game. They're not going to have the angles when you're getting what the fuck's his name? The last guy in the totem pole that used to be at the ESPN. Oh fuck, Chris something.
I can't even remember.
No, but he does the shittiest game they have on their schedule for the week,
which is usually one of our teams.
No, on Fox.
Oh, okay.
On CBS.
Yeah, right.
So it's NFC games, but he gets the shittiest game on the schedule. So if you have only 9 or 10 cameras on that game and your team gets fucked, it could cost you fucking playoffs because they don't have enough cameras on the game. And Siragusa was never a national game. They were like the 3rd team or 4th team and they were having 15 cameras. Now you get those guys getting 9 or 10?
Yeah.
That can have a big impact on a season when you're looking at inches and from winning or losing a game in some cases.
Well, but it's a good thing they've clarified the catch rule. Sorry.
But anyway,
if you haven't seen it, find it.
It's
here
worth-
in Canada, we had to be creative to get a hold of it, but it's something I'm going to watch again, honestly.
Oh, I can't wait to see. And how did we not know this was happening?
No one did. A fantasy football podcast I listen to is based in Arizona. They go to 3 or 4 games a year, and they're always excited when they're doing their show, whatever. Rabid Cardinals fans, they're just going, I had no idea. I didn't notice any additional cameras. I did not know this was happening.
But NFL
Nothing.
films everything anyway, right?
I
They're
guess,
at every game.
but
They're at every game,
But again,
so
these
you wouldn't
guys
notice.
are relatively connected. They had Todd Gurley on their show, right? So they're not.
Oh,
They're
no,
not
I'm not.
schlubs, and they had no idea.
But that nobody did in the press or anything. Like mainstream.
The creators of this did put out that season 2 is going to happen with no other details. So this is wildly unofficial, right?
I can almost guarantee who it's going to be for advertising, for marketing purposes. It's going to be the Rams. It's going to be the Rams' transition to LA. What's the better story?
All right. I'm down with that because I was going to bring up, and this is what I wanted to circle back to that you brought up earlier. I want to see a dysfunctional team.
Yeah, but they won't let that happen.
Well, they do with Hard Knocks. I mean, Hard Knocks is structured that the only teams that get on it are, by definition, dysfunctional. Right? You're not on Hard Knocks if you've made the playoffs in 3 years. You're not on Hard Knocks, with a new coach, which I think is fair. But so Hard Knocks is designed about dysfunction. See, I would like to just see this on a random dice roll.
So who's Hard Knocks doing this year? Who the fuck is it?
I think the Hard Knocks will be the Rams.
No, they've already announced
They've
it. Who the
announced
fuck
it?
is it? Well, yeah, it's
Okay, we'll look it
training
up.
camp starts in a week.
Yeah. By the way, I'll just have to say, I will watch this every year 100 times before I'll watch Hard Knocks. If I had to choose. I'll end up watching both, obviously, but...
Oh, it is the Rams. So they're out. And the Rams are also having E Entertainment's following around like 4 players.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, who?
Wait till
Okay,
these
so
people all figure out that Jeff Fisher is the coach.
well, no, he'll come across good on TV.
Yeah, until he gets fired halfway through the season.
No, but they'll keep him. They're keeping him because he's been through this before, transitioning to a new city. That's the only reason they kept him. He's done the logistics. That's the only reason I can see them keeping him. Either that or he's got a sex tape on one of the owners. But what team would they pick? Like, I don't even know why they picked Arizona.
Well, it's got to be at that stage. Like, the success of this, at least critically, we'll have to see how they market it because, let's face it, Amazon is new. I watch Bosch and I watch this. I have no idea what other TV they offer as a network.
Oh, no, they have a bunch of stuff, but it's essentially Netflix with the pay option. So they'll have the new stuff. Like if you missed an episode of, say, Preacher, you could go on and pay $4 for the
like
HD
Apple
version.
TV or whatever? Okay.
Yeah. So it's essentially that. They have older seasons that are free, but any of the Amazon originals, yes, you get for free.
Okay.
But any of the new primetime series, like Gotham or anything, you're paying.
Okay. Like, I knew things like, Bosch, which I watch, what they did there was they financed like 3 episodes of a dozen series, and then people could vote as which ones should go to series. A strange model. So I don't really understand how they work, but I want this to continue. I would like to see this for every team over time.
But this would be just done. There's no mandate from the league to do this, so we're not going to see a dysfunctional team.
Yeah, but NFL Films is involved. And if this works as marketing, they can demand it. The same way they've demanded. No one would have agreed to Hard Knocks in the last 3 years except the NFL said, yeah, this works. I also think that they're pissed at HBO, and if we can get our reality NFL series from elsewhere, fuck you and Hard Knocks.
No, but they have to, if they want to make this successful, it's got to come out during the season.
I disagree. Nothing could be better than what it was the July 4th date where everyone, like you and me, is dying for football. And now the next thing coming up, which I'm also really excited about, is the 3 games from each team on YouTube in August.
What, they're streaming it?
Yeah.
Live?
3 teams. The full game broadcast of 3 classic games from each team.
Yeah.
Yes. So that gets you through July and August. This is how the NFL gets 12 months. The deadest time forever, right? You have this show come out in July. You dump it the way they did for binge watching. Gave me a great July in terms of football relative to previous years. And now I'm going to go watch, the Kellen Winslow game coming in August.
I don't even know which Titans games. Well, they'll put the Buffalo game. Music City Miracle will be one.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah, there's a full list of the games out.
Oh, is there?
For each team, yeah.
Music City Miracle.
And then
it's going to have to be wins, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's what it works to, and that's the interesting part is I can watch the Kellen Winslow game, and then I can watch the Ice Bowl on the Cincinnati feed just to break my heart. Right? My team that should have won the Super Bowl.
You should have had home field. That's Arians talked about that too. I didn't mean that to be a dick. It was
that
more
was
to bring
actually
up
a really good point, man. Really good point. That was again another great line. He's going, these games you think they don't matter much, but that's the difference between us going to Green Bay and them coming here.
Yeah.
And he said that in episode 2.
Yeah.
All right, we should wrap this.
Yeah. So yes, get your hands on it any way you can. It's worth it. I forgot about the YouTube thing. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, well, because I was just thinking, what next? And I do think that this is one of the better things the NFL has done in a long, long time. Because I'm assuming they're going to be decently remastered.
Yes.
Maybe that's presumption. If it comes up as wildly pixelated videotape transfers, I'm going to be very disappointed. But I'm quite excited about this, and I think this is a very, very cool and very smart thing for the NFL to do.
It's not going to look like what we get now. People that have videotaped games off their VCR and then converted it to digital, where you get the fucking flickers of the what the fuck did they used to call it? Tracking. Yeah. When you get that on the VCR.
Yeah, you get the line go up. Those magnetic heads aligned.
But my worry with this Amazon thing is the same as with Hard Knocks. What's happened to Hard Knocks after the first few seasons? And you get the criticisms or the accolades for certain aspects, just like we have. We broke it down to our favorite parts and everything. And then as people, players and coaches watch this, it gets watered down because they're playing almost a character to fit the reality TV model.
But that
like,
goes to my point that, yes, maybe the first few episodes will have that, but it will grind you out. You're still just coming into work.
But Hard Knocks,
if you went into work tomorrow and there was a camera on you, you would be very wooden, very structured, very aware of it. By the time that camera had been there for 50 days, you would have forgotten about it.
But you don't think Hard Knocks has lost some of its edge?
Yeah, but that's because it's such a short period. And it is constructed. That's part of the reason I think this is better. Over the course of a season, as the hours grind on, you forget about those cameras.
I
You'll
hope
still
you're
see
right.
it in their production. I think you can even see it in this season.
Well, no, but that's what I mean. I hope you're right.
And wooden early in episodes 1 and 2. By the time we got to 3 on, I thought, honestly, that they'd more or less forgotten about the cameras. They were wallpaper.
I hope
and
you're
you were
right.
starting to see real people, except in the production pieces. And that's...
Because on Hard Knocks, it was like that for the first couple of years, and then it started to get to be, okay, I'm going to play this role on the thing.
But that's because they shoot it all in 4 weeks. And a lot of these guys know that their only chance at fame and success is to generate interest in 4 weeks. Patrick Peterson knows he's Patrick Peterson. He stops acting pretty quick. He is who he is.
I know. I hope you're right. I want it to stay like this one was. But I don't know. I hope you're right. That's all I can say. Because in every reality TV thing, it's always faded the more years that go on and more people see who gets popular from the show. So I just hope it doesn't get to that, because guys go out of their way to try and become that.
It's very
it's human
hard.
Nature.
Okay, but it's very hard to maintain a facade for 4 months. Look at Hardy. He was great teammate. Best presence in the locker room until things ground down. Right? Don't care what facade you want to be, you can't maintain that facade for 4 months. You forget about
That'd
the
be
cameras.
interesting. Here's a guy that would
Dallas,
go for
I
it.
think, would be the next team to do this. By
That's
the way,
what I was just
would be
gonna
my
say.
vote, because I think Jones would actually see that.
Or Seattle.
I considered Seattle because Pete Carroll.
Well, Amazon's based out of Seattle, aren't they?
I don't even know where Amazon's based.
They might be Arizona.
But it doesn't really matter to me. But yeah, those are when you ask, like, who do you think is next? You know, your guess, Rams, not bad, but they're Hard Knocks. I think it would be Dallas who would jump at it. Or another team that's confident a bit in itself, Steelers.
I don't think the Rooneys would go for it.
Probably not, but
Seattle's
we got to
owned
wrap
by
it
a
here.
fucking billionaire who made his money in the computer business, and they're based in Seattle.
That's a good
Amazon. Yeah, but yeah, watch it. I'd give it like what, 8.5, 9 out of 10.
I'd easily give it a 9.
It was really good.
At no point did I not enjoy it. Even if a production piece wasn't working, and by the way, most of the production pieces worked it. I liked seeing Redding bake cookies with his wife.
Yeah.
It made me laugh.
Yeah, and he totally dispelled the myth of the athlete wife. I guess the linemen don't score like the wide receivers and running backs.
I don't know, by the way, most of the wives seemed like wives, too.
Yes.
They, it did sort of dispel
all the rappers on MTV Cribs looked like they had a house that was put together, too.
Yeah, that's true. You also didn't notice that the flash young guys didn't come. It was usually veterans who've established a life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But, no, you have to watch it. It's a fantastic series.
I give it easily a 9 out of 10, and I could be argued into higher. There was nothing I didn't enjoy about that show.
Yeah. And isn't John Hamm a big Cardinals fan? Isn't that why they chose him? I believe he's a big Cardinals fan.
Is he? I've heard about Simmons enough, but I can't remember what team he cheered for.
I'm pretty sure he's a Cardinals fan. But
okay.
I would have given it a 9.5 if it wasn't for John Hamm.
See, I didn't mind John Hamm at all. On that note, why don't you take us out here?
All right. You can check out our podcast on iTunes or Stitcher for your Android device, on our website, offensivelines.ca. Follow us on Twitter at Offensive Lines for any updates to our blog or when a new podcast is available. Our personal Twitter accounts at OLinesMarlin or at OLinesBoyd. Facebook.com/Offensive Lines. And if you want to send us an email, it's offensivelines. I'm Boyd.
I'm Marlin, and that was episode 11. Get your hands on a copy of this.
And fuck John Hamm.
Generous fucking gambler.